This review is made possible by Cadillac of Naperville. Come check out their brand new state-of-the-art showroom on Ogden Avenue in Naperville, Illinois.
Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2021 Infiniti QX80 Premium Select. Up front is a 5.6 liter V8, and down below is a 7-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this here Infiniti QX80 for a couple of reasons. First of all, I feel like I don't bring a whole lot of Infinitis, at least modern Infinitis, to the channel very often, so I'm trying to change that. But also, I've never reviewed one of these before, and so it's finally time to check this one off my list and see how it does. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zachpradel.com, where you can buy stickers and other merchandise when it becomes available. You can also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form, and you get a video of your car just like this one. And you could read my behind the scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that 5.6 liter V8 under the hood, making 400 horsepower. We're out here on the test track. Things are warmed up. Let's get right into it. It's got some bite to it. It's definitely got some bite to it. However, you do have that very disconnected feeling when you do put your foot into it, is that the power is happening elsewhere. You're just kind of strapped on top of it, or however position you want to be in. You're just kind of along for the ride, and that's pretty standard across the board with big SUVs like this. What's also interesting is that it is a Japanese V8. It's very hard to find Japanese engines really above 6 cylinders. Japan loves 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders are pretty good, but V8s are very hard to come by, especially today. Back in the day, back in the 90s and 80s, they were a little bit more common. Really just the 90s with Lexus, that's what I'm thinking of. But a Japanese V8 is definitely something on the rarer side. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 7-speed automatic transmission. Infiniti uses a lot of 7 speeds for a lot of their vehicles, and it's a fine unit. It's doing the job, no complaints. Last but not least, the QX80, as I almost call it an Armada, is 4-wheel drive. So that's out of the way. Let's talk about the interior. There are some really good points in here and some really not so good points. Well, in front of me, I have 2 physical gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my tachometer and coolant temperature, and off to the right is my speedometer and fuel, as well as I do get that screen in the center that I can customize and change around. I like that it does have a couple different colors in here. It's decent to look at, and I think actually does feel pretty modern for the QX80. It's not the most cutting edge gauge cluster I've ever seen, but that's okay. On the steering wheel on the left, I have my controls for that center screen as well as back. Skip page, volume, and phone options. And off to the right, I have my cruise control settings. So this does have radar cruise control, which I really like. And I get my bubble button, which will kind of turn some safety features on and off. Overall, the look and feel of the steering wheel is pretty good. It's this really nice taut leather that has this white stitching around it, and it has these little grab handles down at the bottom as well. Off to the left, I do have a giant climate control vent, as well as my power tailgate, heated steering wheel, my alerts on and off, headlight adjustments. Then moving onto the door, I do have 2 different memory seat options, as well as my power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, up at the very top, I actually do have a rear view mirror camera. So I had to look this up to make sure that this wasn't aftermarket. This was actually an option for Infinitis in 2021, and it is very, very clear. It's a very, very nice camera. I'm a big, big fan of it, and the camera on the back is so tiny, you wouldn't really suspect this good of quality out of something small like that. Moving down, we do have a Bose speaker up on the dash, and then we get one of 2 infotainment systems. So the one at the top, this is my navigation. I have 2 climate control vents on either side, but navigation up in the center. But then moving down below, this is for the radio, climate controls, settings, all of that business. I don't really like this 2-screen system because it seems like one of these screens was an afterthought, and definitely in today's modern designs, I'm not saying I agree with this, but one giant screen to fill all of this would be a little bit more modern of a design. Again, I personally don't like one giant screen either, but seems to be the way that vehicles are going. I do have physical climate controls to the left and right, so that's fine, but I can also run my climate through here. I can go through home, menu, audio. I do have Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto, which is very, very nice. But the screen, the graphics on it are a little dated at this point. Not totally in love with it, but that's okay. I would say that this is one of the downsides of the interior of the QX80. I do get heated seats though. Very, very nice. I am pleasantly enjoying them on this very cold morning. Down below that, we do have a 12-volt outlet off to the right. 2 USBs off to the left. I do get a USB-C, which is very nice to see, something very modern. Then we have the giant center console. Let's start off with the left. I do have the shifter. This feels like every other Infiniti shifter in all of their other products. Not saying that that's a bad thing, it just feels the same throughout their lineup. Then I have some controls for my navigation screen. So the navigation is touchscreen, but I can also run it through here, which is kind of weird because then this joystick also doesn't work for the second lower infotainment screen. Again, something that could have been solved by one screen altogether, but that's okay. And then I have my 4-wheel drive settings down below that. So I do have auto, 4 high, and 4 low, as well as tow mode, snow mode, and traction control off. This is sort of a multi-geared tool down here, which is pretty interesting. But off to the right, I do have a cubby and some cup holders, so we will do a big freaking bottle test here in the 2021 Infiniti QX80. And unfortunately, this big old SUV fails the big freaking bottle test. It's just a little too skinny. Then I do get a giant center console, definitely enough to fit a rotisserie chicken inside of. And then the seats are memory, they are power, they are heated, and those are all very, very nice features. They're also finished in this nice tight leather. I like that a lot, and they are pretty comfortable, especially for a modern luxury SUV. However, speaking of seats, we have 2 more rows of seating. So let's go do some backseat reviews. All right, so we're in the second row of the Infiniti QX80 from 2021, and a couple of things to note. First of all, I do get a center console down here with openable cup holders. I also get this big giant center console with some headphones in here. However, I don't believe that these infotainment systems are factory. It says Advent. It doesn't say Infiniti anywhere on it. It looks like an Android unit, so I won't comment on those too much. The seats are kind of hard. They're big, but they're kind of hard. They're not super comfortable. Not really loving them, unfortunately. I do have speakers in the doors, of course, power windows. I have my own climate controls down below, which is very, very nice, as well as 2 USB chargers, 12-volt outlet, all of the goodies down there. However, we do also have a third row, so through the power of editing, I will now go back there. Thanks. So we are in the third row now, and it is a little squished because it is an SUV. I always say minivans will always have the best third row. Am I hating it back here? No. My knees actually aren't hitting the seat in front of me. Headroom is pretty good. I do have these vents up on the side here and a grab handle, as well as I actually do have power options, so I can kind of scoot it up or scoot it back, which is interesting. However, let's go hop around the back, talk about the trunk and cargo space, then we'll talk about the looks. Is that good with you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. All right, so on the back of the QX80, press and hold here on the key fob to open up the trunk. There we go. Kind of a slow trunk, but it is a giant door, so can't blame it. But once we are back here, a couple of things to note. I do have a 12-volt outlet back here. Very nice. I get some tie downs, things like that, if you could pry that up. And then I do have these power mechanisms for the back seats. So I can actually lay them down and adjust them based off of just these 2 buttons, which is very, very nice. And they will go all the way down, but it does take a little while. So, yeah, how's your day going? I hope it's well. There we go. All right, now time to bring it back up. Yeah, so don't be in a hurry doing this, because yeah. There you go. Okay, there we are. And then we just have this button right here to close the tailgate. It'll beep and then do its little thing. And I like that. Very, very nice. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I've never really been over the moon about the QX80, but I also do think that it looks reasonably handsome and definitely different than the Nissan Armada that this vehicle shares a platform with. The Nissan Armada is essentially the same vehicle, but this just has more bells and whistles and an updated face and butt. I can say the same thing about the rest of Infinity's lineup though. There's nothing that's particularly striking about their cars, but they're also not ugly. I'm not saying that either, so very, very interesting. Let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a QX80 here on the Shooting Cars YouTube channel? Well, first of all, I do want to talk about the things that I do like. I really like the driving experience. It's nice, it's quiet. I know I always yell in these videos, but the loudest thing right now is actually the water sloshing around in the big friggin' bottle. That's it. It's very nice and quiet. It's pleasant to drive. The V8 makes good power, good SUV power where it feels sturdy and straight line, and they didn't do a V6 turbo, so you don't have to wait for anything to spool. You just have torque and you go. I like it. I like the calming, luxurious experience. I don't really have any hatred towards this vehicle. I'm not a big fan of the screens, and some of the stuff needs updating, but I'm not going to open that can of worms with Infinity. However, driving this car feels like listening to a nice classical ballad on the morning of April 15th, 1912. The morning the Titanic sank around 2 a.m. This feels like listening to the band on the Titanic because you get these nice sounds, the symphony of comfort and luxury, status. You're higher up than people. Heated steering wheel, heated seats, I'm comfortable. But I also know in the back of my mind that this isn't going to end well. Infinity has not been doing well the last couple of years. And I know I've mentioned that in other Infinity videos, but each time I film one, the situation is worse and worse. This is one of their best-selling cars, and yet how often do you see them? Not all that much. How often does Infinity sell them? Well, not that much. The Infinity dealer in my town actually has a parking lot full of Rivians and Teslas and Jaguars and Range Rovers. It's hard-pressed to even find Infinity on Infinity car lots. Predictions say that they're going to close their doors before the year 2030. And you can attribute that to a lot of different things. Mismanagement, sure. Nissan as a brand has been mismanaged the last 2 decades. But I think really truly is that they've kind of lost brand identity and spontaneity. When was the last time you were like, luxury cars? BMW, Mercedes, Jaguar, Lexus, Acura, Infinity. It just doesn't really get brought up in conversation all that much. So my point being is that actually might benefit you. These can be found on the used market like this car from Cadillac in Naperville with serious discounts. And if Infinity does ever fully leave the market, you can probably find these for a dime a dozen. And they're good cars. These are good cars. They're just being failed by the suits. What can you do? Huge thank you to Max over at Cadillac of Naperville for letting me take out their QX80. This was eye-opening. Cadillac in Naperville is absolutely awesome. They just remodeled their showroom. It's actually not even fully done yet, but the interior is done, and it looks amazing. You got to go check it out. They are absolutely awesome. They offer no BS pricing, so what you see on the website is what you're going to pay, and I like that upfrontness about them. Huge thank you to them. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.